Welcome to Wealthy After 40. Ready to ditch debt, retire sooner, and live life on your own terms? Only 54% of Gen Xers feel prepared for retirement, and 22% believe they will live a comfortable lifestyle. So if you're feeling like your finances are a hot mess express, you are not alone. I'm Daleen Higgins, founder of Elevate Finances and money coach for Gen Xers. I reached my dream of retiring at 50 while helping our daughter through college, and now I want to help you do the same. It's time to stop avoiding your finances like the plague and start having confident conversations about money. Join me every week to talk about personal budgeting, debt payoff, saving for retirement, money mindset, and leaving a legacy for future generations. Okay, friends, let's talk money. Welcome to today's episode of Wealthy After 40. I'm excited to have guest Rachel S. Ruby. She is a divorce healing coach, author, speaker, writer, attorney, and entrepreneur. Her book, Divorce to Bliss, was born from her journey from her divorce to creating a beautiful new life. It is her passion and her mission to share this pathway to happiness after divorce so that others can live their truth and find ultimate bliss. So thank you, Rachel, for joining us today. I'm so excited to hear about healing after divorce and how people can have a better life. I mean, that's ultimately what healing means.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm excited to talk about this.
So how can individuals heal emotionally from the impact of divorce and create a fulfilling life moving forward? And what are the steps maybe that somebody can take to rebuild self-esteem and confidence after going through a divorce?
Yeah, so those are some loaded questions. And first of all, healing emotionally from divorce and rebuilding the self-confidence takes work. And the main goal is to rewire body, mind, and spirit. And it's kind of like there's no right or wrong or order in which to do things, with the exception of one thing, which I'll discuss. But I think that in order to get to actually be able to heal, you need to make a commitment to rewiring the mind, body, and spirit. And I've come up with 8 steps for your podcast today that can help people get started.
I'm excited to dive in. And yeah, listeners, hopefully these steps will help you.
Yeah. So the first one obviously involves you, and that is because divorce often involves big changes in finances, people are splitting accounts and assets. It's a big fear for so many people. In fact, I would go so far as to say it's one of the 2 biggest fears when it comes to divorce is financial security or financial insecurity. And so my advice to people is to meet with someone like you, a financial coach, who can really go through their individual assets, their picture, figure out what they want moving forward in creating their new life, what they want it to look like, so that they can finance it and be comfortable and be able to do that. I think that if this step is done right at the beginning of divorce, or right when someone has just become divorced, and there's so many emotions, this step is not emotional in general because it involves money and involves making a plan. I think that this is a great place to start when healing, because if you do make a plan to be able to support yourself and support your new life, you will feel more self-confident, and then you can get into the deeper part of the healing work with the emotions.
And even in any situation that involves money, it's really just understanding where you are and where you want to go. So adding the emotions from divorce can be very, very difficult, but to have somebody who's neutral. And I worked with a
Mhm.
client not too long ago, and he said, will you please be neutral? And I was, and I am, right? I'm not a part of that. I can help you see it more clearly. So yes.
Right. And I just think that's so wonderful because to me, looking at it kind of from the outside looking in and having gone through the healing process, I think that the financial part of it is something that can be, controlled, for lack of a better word. It's something that you can kind of take the reins and create for yourself so that then you can go on and get to some of the tough emotional issues. And having that taken care of, I think, will make it much easier to heal. So the second thing is taking control of your health, and this is so important. We all know it's important to eat healthy and exercise, but also we need to remember that physical health makes it easier to heal emotionally, because what we put into our body, if we put in healthy food into our body and we get exercise daily and we get fresh air, then our energy levels are going to go up. We're going to be protected. Our immune system will be protected, and it will create a lot of good endorphins that will make us feel good in general. And all of these things can help to jumpstart healing. So it's also super important, because a lot of people, they get really down and negative when they're going through divorce, to stay away from things like alcohol and drugs and controlled substances, as well as even caffeine, to just treat your body like a temple, so you can really feel good inside and out. And because the healing process is hard, and this will definitely help you to be able to do that.
It sounds like these steps are just going to add on top of each other and heal and make you heal faster. So yes.
And the next step that I've kind of written out here is expressing feelings. And this is so important when going through any trauma, and divorce is a trauma. And especially, for everybody, this is necessary, but a lot of men tend to not express their feelings because of the way that society has raised men. And I have a whole podcast on that, and how men heal differently. But it's so important to let the feelings out and not keep them inside. And this can involve, expressing them verbally, to yourself out loud, to your friend, whatever you need, to somebody else. It can involve journaling, which was a huge part of my healing process. And I recommend to all my clients to journal, to write those feelings down. It doesn't mean that you have to be a writer. It doesn't mean that you have to write, pages and pages every day. If you could just write a few sentences a day about how you're feeling, or what's something that happened that day that made you feel good or made you feel bad. I had a great conversation with my former spouse today about the kids' schedule, and there was no bickering, and it was fabulous. Or, I feel really down today and I just wanted to sit on the couch and eat chocolate and not talk to anybody. Because when you go through this healing process, you can look back at these things that you wrote and see the progression and see where you started. Because a lot of times when we're healing and going through the process, we may get to these down periods where we think, this isn't working. I'm not making any progress. So to have it there to see is wonderful. And also, I would encourage meditation, which a lot of people are scared. They think, oh, it's kind of this, frou-frou thing. I don't know how to meditate. But really all that meditation is focusing on the breath and being present. So it can be as simple as just closing your eyes and feeling your breath come in and letting your breath go out, and just sitting there for a few minutes and doing that. And thoughts will come in and thoughts will go, and it'll make you crazy because, oh God, I got to get the laundry out of the dryer and I got to go start cooking dinner. But it doesn't matter. Just acknowledge them and just keep breathing. And if you do that a little bit every day, there's research that finds it actually slows your heart rate down, it calms you down, and it grounds you. So, and then the last thing for expressing feelings that I recommend is to do something fun. And this can be dancing. I love just turning on my music and just dancing by myself in the house. I'm crazy, but it's so much fun. Artistic expression, you can color, if you paint, if you, create something, do origami, whatever it is, find something fun to do. And this helps you to just kind of let go of that knot of feelings that you have inside.
I love that. I had a client and her therapist told her, you need to be more spontaneous. So she went shopping. And so when she came to me, she's like, I realized I shouldn't have done that. But you know what? She was trying to feel who she was through divorce as well. And, sometimes it does take money, and that's okay. That's okay. So yeah, I
Yeah.
love it.
I think there are a lot of ways you can express your feelings and let them out other than spending money. If you want to spend money and you have money to spend, that's fine. But always, to me, in my mind, thinking of something like spending money or having a drink or doing a drug or something like that, it could turn into maybe something that is replacing the expression of the feelings. So I love the idea of just getting those feelings out and yeah. So if the shopping helps, that's fantastic. Go do the shopping. If you can do it and your financial advisor says, yes, you can go shop and whatever, but also take some time to just, like express your feelings, write them down. And I think that really helps. And the next thing is letting go. And this is a big one. This is a big step because most people think letting go means just letting someone out of your life, but it's so much more than that. It is letting go, not just of people who don't support you, and there's ways to determine who those people are, and but also letting go of preconceived ideas, which may have been taught to us when we were very little and throughout our whole lives, like the idea that divorce is bad, it's wrong, it's immoral, we stay married forever. And that has been taught by society, by culture, by family. And a lot of people develop a lot of shame when they get divorced because of this. So it's letting go of that, those preconceived ideas, those people who don't support you, and also the patterns of behavior that you might do, but not even realize. Like, for example, when you argue with your spouse as you're going through this process, and you start to blame them in your mind, you may even start to blame them out loud and say, here, it's all your fault and blah, blah, blah. And those things don't matter moving forward. It doesn't matter if, and usually divorce is, there's no one that's at fault. It's a marriage dissolved, both parties have played roles in that. And because it's human nature for us to blame as human beings, because sometimes it makes us feel better, we need to get out of that, because we can't move forward if we're holding all this anger and these negative feelings towards our ex-spouse. So letting go involves many different things, and there's a lot more to it. And I talk about that in my book, and I also have podcasts about that. So if you need some help there, you can reach out. And next I have support networks. And support networks, of course, are just that. They are groups of people who support us. And it's not just people who love us and care for us. It's beyond that. The support people have to know that it is important to let you make your own choices. And they should not be telling you, you should do this and you shouldn't do that. And a lot of times, especially when we come from like a culture where divorce is seen as wrong and bad, or we come from families where they're horrified that the child is getting divorced or whatever it is, this can put a lot of guilt into our hearts, and it can create a lot of shame. And so we have to remember that we are the only ones who can control our lives and make our best choices. We're the only ones who know what our best choices are. And we need to silence anything that is saying otherwise and telling us what to do, especially in the case where we don't feel that. And so there are ways that you can, again, let these people go, not just cut them out of your life, but sometimes it just involves saying something as simple as, hey, I'm going through this really tough time, and there are things I need to figure out on my own. And while I appreciate you and love you, I need you to not give me advice unless I ask for it. So, and there's great ways to find the right support network if you don't have one. So, that's a really good step in healing. And then next, I have getting out of the victim state. And when we are going through a trauma like divorce or anything that's negative, a lot of us tend to fall into the victim state. And this just means that we believe everything happens to us and we're unable to control things in our lives, or we are so sad and so down that we don't know how, or we can't get out of it. And we just become this perpetual victim. So we need to get out of that mindset, and realize we're the only ones who can control our own lives and create our path and our happiness. And we need to get out of that victim state in order to be able to heal, move forward, and create our new lives.
Yes, yes. This is the same with money, right? You can't be a victim. You've got to learn to be a victor. You've got to learn that you're forging your own way, and things happen, right? Things happen, but they're not personal. They're not directed toward us, and they don't need to be carried with us. We just need to move forward and move on and be that victor. So I love that.
Yeah, you're right. Things happen. And, I always tell my clients, you can create this perfect path for yourself. This is how I'm going to do it and get healed and get to my new life. And then something can happen. Someone can get sick. You can lose your job, whatever it is. And it is, and I've always told my children this as they grew up, that it is not the reaction, but the response to that thing that has happened that is an issue. It is the response to it that is going to allow you to be a stronger person and be more self-confident and move forward. If we just react and go, oh my gosh, this is happening, it's horrible, like things always happen to me, we're going to go down into that victim mindset. So we need to look at each thing as, each thing that comes up as something that is a challenge for us, and know that we can come up with a plan to work around it or to resolve it. And life is never a bowl of cherries. There's always going to be something that, even in the happiest times, that can change your emotions on a dime or change your path. And we need to be ready, and we need to understand that that's normal, first of all. And then we need to be ready to tackle that. So yeah, money is that's a great example of things that can change real quickly. And instead of saying like, oh gosh, I just lost my job and how am I going to pay my bills? You need to focus on what you're going to do about it, not what's happened. Because you can't do anything about what happened. Like, you lost your job, okay, done. You got a pay cut, whatever, that happened. Now what are we going to do to move forward and fix, where you are?
I was talking with my daughter the other day, and I said, it's fine to feel that way, but now what are you going to do? You can't stay in those feelings. You've got to recognize them, express them, maybe, through journaling or however, get rid of them through meditation, whatever, but recognize those feelings, and then don't leave them behind you. Leave them behind you and get moving forward. So yeah. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yes. And then the next one, number 7, is forgiveness. And when most people think of forgiveness, they think of forgiving others. So forgiveness is two-pronged. And one is definitely forgiving the former spouse, because like I said, blame and shame is such a part of who we are oftentimes that it's easier for many of us to blame that former spouse for the divorce, and rather than look deep within and say, okay, a relationship takes two people. There's never just one person who's responsible for, even in the case where was cheating. I mean, it's going to be maybe the reaction or response to that act, or something that built up for many years or many months that led to someone feeling like they needed to go outside. Not that that's okay, and I don't support that, but whatever it is, we need to forgive, because if we carry all of this tangled mess of negativity inside of us, we cannot move forward. It's like this roadblock, and it just stops us, and we'll get stuck there. And then we'll get frustrated because we'll say, why aren't we healing? So we need to forgive. And the other part of forgiveness is forgiving the self. And for a lot of people, this is so much harder to do than forgiving someone else, because we tend to blame ourselves. We tend to take on that shame and those negative reactions that might come from others. You're getting divorced. Oh, I mean, even it's funny, because when I was getting a divorce and I would say to people, oh, I'm getting divorced, they'd say, oh, I'm so sorry. So that was the first thing out of everybody's mouth. And the first thing out of my mouth in response would be, don't be, I'm really happy. Right?
Yeah.
Ignore. So I I know that forgiveness involves forgiving yourself. And if you can't do that yourself, then you need help, because past events are not relevant to right now and to moving forward and healing.
People, I mean, we're hardest on ourselves, right? We hold ourselves to these standards that I don't know if we hold anybody else to, and maybe we should, I don't know. But yeah, learning to forgive is so important. So important.
And it's really hard, because a lot of people don't know how. They may want to. They may say, gosh, I don't want to feel guilty about this. I don't want to blame my ex-spouse, because if you look at, the marriage as a whole, there's a reason you married that person. Usually you were in love with that person. And I know I had many wonderful, wonderful years in my marriage, and was very much in love with my husband. And, I could never just be angry at him for the marriage falling apart, because there were so many good parts. And I focus on that. And I am grateful that I had that. I'm grateful we had two beautiful children. I'm grateful we had all those years together. It taught me so much about myself. We need to just forgive and let that go. And so we can move on. And then the last, number 8, and again, there's so many more things that we can do. And in my book, I go through most of them, but the last one here for today is having an abundance mindset. And what that means is we attract what we believe. It's kind of like you've heard of the law of attraction, most likely. And so if we believe that we are a victim, if we believe that we are, so wrong in going through this divorce, and we did something bad, and, we broke an agreement before God, and we, whatever it is, you can find a million different things to believe. I let myself go, so my husband wasn't attracted to me. Whatever. And if we keep telling ourselves that, and we keep focusing on that, guess what's going to happen? More of that is going to come to us, because our brains want to make us happy, and our brains are going to pick up on what we're focusing on. So if we're focusing on all these bad, negative things, we're going to have more of that. So the abundance mindset means that, first of all, you are abundant. You deserve to be abundant. We all do. Everybody has something for which they can be grateful. Someone once said to me, well, a prisoner doesn't, Rachel. And I said, really? Because even though their body is trapped in this little space, their mind is free. Their imagination is still there. They can close their eyes and they can imagine running through a field, walking on a beach, whatever, racing a car, whatever it is. So we always have something to be grateful for, even in the darkest times. And I challenge anyone to challenge me on that, because I've been through some really dark times, and I focused on my breath, my health, my body, my house, my kids, my dog. All the things that bring me joy, even though I was going through a hard time. And that's what helped me get out of it. So believing we are abundant also involves not only just feeling it, but expressing that gratitude every day, constantly, and visualizing how we want that abundance to play out. So we can visualize ourselves, if we want to have money to support us in our new life, we can visualize that. We can imagine depositing the check or seeing the check hit our bank account each month that's going to pay our bills and then some, so we can put some away. We can, if we want to find new love one day, we can imagine ourselves holding hands and walking somewhere with a person that loves us. So the abundance mindset is really all about feeling and expressing your abundance so that you can heal. And so your brain knows that, hey, this is what I want. I don't want that negative stuff. I want this abundance. I am abundant. And lastly, I think it's so important to use those affirmations, those positive affirmations, and tell yourself, especially looking at yourself in the mirror, into your eyes, I am abundant. I am grateful. I am smart. I am capable. I am whatever it is you need to hear and believe, keep on doing that, because the more that you say that, the more that you envision this abundance, you will bring it into your life.
Oh, so true. So true. I heard the other day, they're like, the brain just really deals in where it's comfortable. And if you, if you keep it in that negative, that's comfortable to it. And that's what it wants.
Exactly.
So, creating that abundance, creating that gratitude and making that comfortable, then you're going to be getting more and more and seeing more and more. So I love that.
Yeah, it's really a beautiful thing. And I think when we are going through something difficult, it's so easy to forget that we have the control over our own thoughts. And when we change those thoughts, we're rewiring ourselves. And when we rewire ourselves, body, mind, and spirit, we can accomplish anything. I mean, and don't tell me you can't, because there are kids who grew up in ghettos with, drug addicted parents and horrible situations where they couldn't go to school and the gangs were recruiting them. And they've gone on to become these incredible, successful people with beautiful lives. And by success, I don't just mean wealthy. I mean, successful in many different ways. So we can all do that for ourselves. Nobody is immune from creating a beautiful life after divorce or after trauma. And it all starts with what's in the mind and what actions we take to get ourselves in the right position to heal.
Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Can you let our listeners know how to connect with you and learn more about you?
Sure. You can go to my website at rachelsruby.com. And from there, you can access all of my social media, as well as my blog and podcasts and all kinds of great information.
Go check out her book, Divorce to Bliss. Thank you for being here today, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Every week, my goal is to help you get one step closer to financial freedom and making confident decisions so your money starts working for you. Having a community of support is important to your financial success. I would love to have you join me in my free Facebook community, All Things Personal Finance. Inside this group, every live training, action challenge, and posts are filled with tips and strategies to help you progress to financial freedom. If you have questions from today's episode or want to learn more, follow me on Instagram at Elevate Finances. If you're looking for personalized support to get your finances on track, check out my website at elevatefinances.us to learn more about how I can support you with one-on-one coaching. Thanks and have a wonderful day.